So welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video, and today I wanted to talk about my watch list. And I know a lot of collectors out there, a lot of times if you're actively collecting, you got maybe about 4 or 5 issues that you really want on your watch list, and then maybe 4 or 5 that you sort of want, but maybe aren't on the top of your list, but if a good deal popped up, you might still purchase it. So going over my watch list in this video, that's sort of how I structured it. I got 4 issues that I really want, CGC 9.8 books that I've been hunting for some time now. Kind of narrowed it down though to 4 that I really want. And then I got 5, 6, or 7 here, honorable mentions, I would say, that if a good deal popped up, I might take a stab at those other comics as well. But as a collector, it's really fun to kind of in your head to always have a couple issues that you really want, and then maybe you find out a new issue and that gets promoted up to your your top want list, and maybe you put one down to your secondary want list. So I think that's one of the funnest parts about being a collector and a comic book collector and a comic book investor, is you're always adjusting your want list in your head and things like that. But okay, let's get right into it here. There are 4 books that I really want, and they're all in the CGC 9.8, obviously, these books that I'm talking about. These 4 books, I want them in the CGC 9.8. So let's start with the first book. I really want a Spawn #1 Newsstand in the CGC 9.8. So clearly I brought one out here. I do have a rough copy, Spawn #1 in the Newsstand. How you could tell if you're not sure is the Newsstand version has this UPC barcode there. Whereas the direct version does not. And the thing about the newsstands, about 20% in general, about 20% of the original print were newsstand copies. So of the original Spawns, only 20% of them had this UPC code about. So knowing that, just looking on the CGC census here for Spawn #1, because there are so many Spawn #1s in the CGC 9.8. I think it's maybe the most 9.8s of any book ever, that I've seen anyway. So Spawn #1, there are 4,909 of them in the CGC 9.8. Now, obviously that's a lot of 9.8s for a book. So me wanting the 9.8 in the newsstand, a general thing you can do is maybe take 20% of that 4,909, and that's going to give you a rough number of the CGC 9.8 newsstand versions of Spawn #1. So you do that, 20% of 4,909 is 981. So roughly there's about 981 Spawn #1s in the newsstand in the CGC 9.8. So this is a book I want. There's obviously so many of them in the direct version. I do have a CGC 9.8 in the direct version that I could have brought out, but I just left it in the box today. So I do have a 9.8 of the direct version, but there's about 4,000 of them. You take 20% of that 4,900 number, you get 981. That's about the number of Spawn #1 CGC 9.8s in the newsstand. So more rare. Price-wise on a Spawn #1 newsstand, you're looking at anywhere from about $350 to $400. Whereas a Spawn #1 direct version, a non-newsstand, is about $120. So that's the difference in price. Obviously Spawn #1 newsstand is kind of the more rare and the more wanted by serious collectors. So that's why I want it. Spawn #1 newsstand, about 981 of them out there, and a lot more rare than the direct version, a lot more expensive too. You're looking, again, about $350 to $400. So I got my money ready on a Spawn #1 newsstand. And the thing about Spawn #1 newsstands is on eBay right now, there are about 3 or 4 of them. But essentially they're asking about $500 to $550 for them, even more. So I don't want to pay that price for a Spawn #1 newsstand. I've seen them go for $350 to $400. So keep an eye out for Spawn #1 newsstand. Hopefully either a good deal in the US pops up with good shipping, and then I can bring it over relatively cheap. Or I find one pop up in Canada soon. So keep an eye out on that one for that one. My second book that I am actively wanting to buy right now in the CGC 9.8 is Uncanny X-Men #141. And I went over this on our pricing video where, you know, one had sold last week for about $350, an Uncanny X-Men 141. And if you do watch that video, I was kind of hitting myself for maybe not going after that one. You know, my thinking on that issue was I have a Uncanny X-Men 142 in the newsstand, so I kind of want an Uncanny X-Men 141 in the newsstand to match it. The one that just went for sale was a direct version, but even that, I'm not dead set on getting a newsstand in Uncanny X-Men 141. So, you know, that one that did just sell for about $350 for a direct version of Uncanny X-Men 141, I think is a really good deal. I'm kind of hitting myself for actually not taking a stab at that one. I was watching it, and I sort of envision me maybe betting about 360 to 370 on that one, which may have ended up winning that auction, which it ended up going for 350. So yeah, I kind of hit myself for not taking a stab at that one. But Uncanny X-Men 141, it's the first Days of Future Past, first Rachel. I did look on the CGC census for this book. There's 571 in the CGC 9.8, and 14.7% of all graded copies are 9.8s. So 14.7 is not a bad ratio at all. Anywhere under 20, you're getting pretty rare. And you know, Uncanny X-Men 141's 1981 book, I believe. So you're getting, you know, almost into the 70s there, and that's when those ratios get closer to 10%. So 14.7%, a pretty rare ratio. Only 571 Uncanny X-Men 141s in the 9.8. So this is another one that, you know, I think of another auction like the one that I discussed that went last week for $350. If another one like that pops up, I think I'm going to take a stab at it, regardless if it's a direct or a newsstand. Because I think, yeah, $350 for that book, I think is a really good deal. I'd probably be willing to pay maybe even up to $400 US for it. A really nice, like, centered copy, maybe even over $400. So, Uncanny X-Men 141 is a book I want in the CGC 9.8. Spawn number 1, Newsstand, another book I want in the CGC 9.8. My third book here that I want is Iron Man number 282, which is the first War Machine. And this book's a little bit cheaper. We did one on our pricing video, I think it was the last week, and it went for about $165. And I think that's going to be pretty rock bottom price on one of these. Just having a look on the net kind of, you know, before coming on here, there's a couple up for about $200, which is, to be honest, very tempting. I think, you know, I'm going to be patient on this one, Iron Man 282, first War Machine as well. Going to be patient on this one, and hopefully I could get one closer to that 160 in the next few months here. But if not, you know, I think if I don't see one pop up, if there's a really nice one for about $200, you know, paying up maybe $20, $30 more, but a really nice centered one, I think I might just go for that for $200. So that could be maybe a new unboxing video pretty soon. But Iron Man 282, first War Machine, just looking on the CGC census really quick, there's 464 Iron Man 282s, so not too many of them, but not very less. You know, being an early 90s book, you expect there to be quite a lot of copies of that. Early 90s books, you know, just so well printed and well collected as well. So 464 Iron Man 282s, and 40% of all Iron Man 282s are CGC 9.8s. And that's kind of normal for like a 90s book. Maybe a little bit on the high side, 40%. But nonetheless, a really cool key, really cool cover. I need to expand my Iron Man collection too. And, you know, I'm not the biggest Iron Man fan or anything, so I don't want to spend too much. You know, not really a big enough fan to kind of get, like, maybe first Thanos Iron Man issue. I know there's that first Jim Rhodes Iron Man, which I believe is maybe Iron Man 118. I think that could be a good stab because you know, this is total speculation, but I think because Robert Downey Jr. was so awesome as Tony Stark, maybe if they bring back Iron Man, they would bring him back as Jim Rhodes on movies. So I think that could be kind of a good speculation, you know, get a couple of those Jim Rhodes Iron Man keys from that era, and they're not too expensive. I think the first Jim Rhodes gets a little expensive. It's getting kind of early 80s, a little bit rare on that CGC 9.8. But I know like first Jim Rhodes as Iron Man, that book's not very expensive. So those are possibilities, but yeah, for me, Iron Man 282 is the one I want, first War Machine, and not very expensive, so yeah, on the lookout for that one. Maybe I'll get that one sooner rather than later. Okay, my last want here, because I got 4 that I really want, I got the money ready for them. So my last one here I want is a Mega Key, and I've been kind of wrestling with myself. Do I want another Amazing Spider-Man 300? Or do I want a Batman Adventures 12? Now, Amazing Spider-Man 300, I have one in the CGC 9.8 here. Really nice copy. This copy is great. The colors just pop, perfectly centered. Old case CGC 9.8, but still really great example. Shows really well. No pages kind of sticking out on the side or the bottom. It's just a really pristine 300. But you know, between Amazing Spider-Man 300, Batman Adventures 12, I do not have a Batman Adventures 12. And certainly wrestling with myself, should I get another Amazing Spider-Man 300 CGC 9.8 or a Batman Adventures 12 CGC 9.8? Well, I think I've settled on getting another Amazing Spider-Man 300. And it's pretty much a total personal choice. Batman Adventures 12, first Harley Quinn, I think would be a really good issue if you love Harley Quinn a lot. You know, personally, I don't have the biggest nostalgic connection to Harley Quinn from, you know, when I was 10 years old collecting comics and loving Venom and Carnage and Spawn. Huge nostalgic connection to these. Not too much to Batman Adventures 12. And yeah, I think it's totally a personal thing. You know, Batman Adventures 12 kind of blew up about 5-6 years ago when that Suicide Squad movie came out. And you know, you have a lot of people saying that that book's going to blow up over the long term blow up. I kind of have a feeling that it might cool down and slowly cool down, similar to how New Mutants 98 has gone, where when it first came out, when that Deadpool movie came out, everyone was saying, oh, New Mutants 98 is going to skyrocket up to as much as Amazing Spider-Man 300 is worth in the CGC 9.8. That never happened because on the CGC census, it's just not as rare as Amazing Spider-Man 300. Neither is Batman Adventures 12, though it's getting up there, more rare, but not as rare as Amazing Spider-Man 300 either. So I think, you know, for those kind of 2 reasons is, you know, Amazing Spider-Man 300 is so nostalgic to me. I like it in general more than Batman Adventures 12. And number 2, I think it's a better investment than Batman Adventures 12. Although Batman Adventures 12 I think is a really good investment. It's a Mega Key, can't go wrong. But between the both of them, Amazing Spider-Man is so rare on the CGC census. The ratio, only 6% of all graded copies are CGC 9.8s. That's pretty much the lowest I've seen in an 80s book. They rarely, hardly ever get under 10%. So to be 6% is really rare in the CGC 9.8. There's only 971 Amazing Spider-Man 300s in the CGC 9.8. That's not a lot for an iconic first appearance like Venom. So yeah, for me, you know what, I think I'm on the hunt for another Amazing Spider-Man 300 in the CGC 9.8. And yeah, right now, I want to be really picky with this issue. There's a couple on the internet right now. But again, they just don't show as well. Either the 300 sort of cover in the background is too orange for me, or some of the pages are sticking out of the sides or the bottom, so it doesn't really show very well from the cover. So I think for this one it's going to take a little bit longer for me, but to grab it, because I really want it to be perfectly centered with you know, vibrant, bright colors. So it's going to take a little bit longer to find it, but I do want to wait for an auction, or for an auction to pop up in Canada, where, you know, hopefully I can grab it for around $2,000 US, because that's essentially the going rate for, you know, an Amazing Spider-Man 300 in a new case. I do want it in a new case too. This one being in an old case, I just want to get the new one in a new case. So in a new case with a flawless case, no scratches, no well scratches or Newton rings, with a really nicely centered issue with great colors. That's sort of what I'm looking for. Sometimes some of these books go for like 1,800, 1,900 because, again, the background's kind of orange, or there's, you know, it's not a perfect 9.8, although it still is a 9.8. So I kind of want mine to be perfect, to be honest. So I'm gonna wait for a really good auction and wait for one with those vibrant colors in a new case with no scratches on the case or anything like that. So might take some time to get my next Amazing Spider-Man 300, but I've decided I want another one, and I'm on the hunt now, and I got the money ready. So yeah, definitely kind of sucks that I had to choose sort of one or the other. That was kind of my my methodology. Do I want Batman Adventures 12 or another Amazing Spider-Man 300? And since they're so expensive, I kind of had to choose one. And yeah, I saw Batman Adventures about 2 weeks ago in the CGC 9.8 new case go for $1,799. And then yeah, Amazing Spider-Man's go for about $2,000 in the CGC 9.8. Okay, so those are the 4 books that I really want. Amazing Spider-Man 300, Iron Man 282, Uncanny X-Men 141, and Spawn #1 in the Newsstand. All of them in the CGC 9.8. Okay, let's get to some honorable mentions. I've mentioned in the past that I really wanted Batman 386 with first Black Mask. And you know what, I still do. I still, want this book. And to be honest, yeah, there's one in Canada right now in an old case. And they're asking $499 Canadian, which is going to work out to about $375 American. That's not too bad of a deal. It's in an old case. The book itself isn't perfectly centered, so it's not a perfect 9.8, but so there is one out there for a decent price. But what I'm a little bit worried about is, that one is in the old case and it's maybe not looking perfectly centered. So I would like to wait for an auction in a new case that looks a little bit better. But you have that movie Birds of Prey coming out. So I'm a little bit worried about the market being a little bit inflated for the first Black Mask, Batman 386, who apparently he's going to be in this Birds of Prey movie. I don't know too much about Birds of Prey personally. I just know apparently Harley Quinn and Black Mask are going to be in it. So I'm a little bit afraid of inflated prices if a really nice book did pop up for on auction. So certainly an honorable mention. I do still want it, but I might just hold off. Maybe until that movie comes out next year, and then the movie dies out a bit, and then start looking at a Batman 386. Okay, another book here, honorable mention. The one I want is a Secret Wars #8 in the CGC 9.8, and that's such a popular book. I know a lot of people have it, and this is another book where right now, because there's those whispers and rumors of Secret Wars possibly being a new movie coming out, maybe in a Marvel Phase 5 or late Phase 4. So I'm actually seeing some inflated prices on Secret Wars #8, whereas, I think last year, or even sort of before any of these Secret Wars chatter rumors started, Secret Wars #8 is one of those issues that there's so many of them. It's very popular. First kind of origin of the alien symbiote costume. So a lot of people want this issue. It's very well traded. There's a lot of CGC 9.8s. But I think right now, you could be worried about inflated prices with those rumors of Secret Wars coming. So I might just hold off on a Secret Wars #8, unless you see an auction pop up. And, Secret Wars #8, it's not, I would say, a huge key, but it just fits in with everything else I have, because I pretty much have every Venom key, every symbiote key. So a Secret Wars #8 would just fit in really well with all the other books that I have, and it doesn't really break the bank. So that's one I'm kind of keeping my eye on. Maybe a really good deal will pop up. Another one in a similar ilk is a Batman #404. I already have a Batman #404, but it's just one of my favorite issues ever, and it's only like $120, $130 if you can get a really good deal for it in the CGC 9.8. So that's another one that if it pops up, really good deal, I'd buy it for $130 and just have 2 of them and get another one. Why not? 2 books here that I really considered to put in my top 4. I kind of been putting them together as well. Ultimate Fallout 4 and Edge of Spider-Verse 2. So first Spider-Gwen and first Miles Morales. And yeah, you know what? Out of these 2, I would probably veer towards Ultimate Fallout 4, first Miles Morales. But I could totally see these issues me picking up first prints in these issues eventually. They're about $350 right now in the CGC 9.8, both of these issues. And yeah, so I think, between both of these, if I had to choose, I would probably go with the first Miles Morales as, if I was to buy a book first. But yeah, I think both of these books, as far as modern books, they're probably the two most investable modern books as far as like iconic first appearances go. So I'm always thinking about, adding these to the collection possibly if the right auction comes up. So yeah, first Miles Morales, first Spider-Gwen. Yeah, for modern books, those are, it doesn't get almost better than that. I would say maybe Teen Titans 12 right now with the first Batman Who Laughs. That's another really hot modern book. Those three modern books I think are probably about as good as you can get as far as like iconic first appearances in modern books. So you'll know this issue, the next one here on my honorable mentions, New Mutants 98. And I think, some of these prices I'm seeing in New Mutants 98, where every now and then you see one sell for like $600 to $650. So New Mutants 98, I think it's getting into that juicy buy territory where, they used to be $900, pushing $1,000 American. Now, every now and then, you're seeing some go for $600 to $650. I think if you can be patient with New Mutants 98, because there's so many of them in the CGC 9.8, be patient. If you can grab one for $600 to $650, I think that's going to be a really good buy over time. First Deadpool, super iconic first appearance. Yeah, I said on my other video, it's kind of slowly marched down here over the last 3 or 4 years, I think, New Mutants, from about 1,000 to about 600, 650 right now. I don't see this issue ever going below like $550. I think there's a lot of like iconic first appearances from the 90s that are about $500. Like a Sandman #1 comes to mind. That's about people pay about $550 to $575 for that. So if people are consistently paying that for a Sandman 1, I don't see a first Deadpool going below that ever. And if in the meantime you can pick one up for like maybe $600, in that range, I think over the long term, if you got a long-term time horizon, $600 for a New Mutants 98 in the CGC 9.8 is going to be like a great buy. I know mine was like $850 something, and I bought it about a year ago. So yeah, still kind of marching down slowly in price. Every now and then you see one go for like $850, $900, but most of them at this point are going for like $650 to $700, I would say, the New Mutants 98s. Okay, and last couple here for honorable mentions. I got some X-Men comics. So X-Men #4 in the CGC 9.8 is the first Omega Red. So really cool X-Men villain, not very well known. And I've seen this issue just in the last few weeks here go for about $100. So, an X-Men #4 for $100, first Omega Red. That, is a pretty cool first appearance for an X-Men villain, and, at the right price, obviously. And all the other sort of Uncanny X-Men books, I would say from like the late 80s, early 90s, I think are really affordable, and you get a lot of first appearances. So, like first Mr. Sinister, which is Uncanny X-Men 222, I believe. You got like the first new Psylocke in there. There's first Bishop, first Jubilee, first Marauders. Yeah, so sort of anywhere, I think it's in the 300s? No, 200s. Yeah, all in that 200s in the Uncanny X-Men, I think is a really good affordable area to collect in. It's not like the most rare area, or, I don't think the books are going to skyrocket or anything like that, but if you want to get a lot of like cool first appearances and really cool issues, you got Chris Claremont, Jim Lee, really cool artists in there as well. You can get a lot of those first appearances for less than $100. A lot of those comics are less than $100. And then Jubilee's gets up there to, maybe about $120, $130. And first Mr. Sinister is about $200 to a little bit over that, but still I think there's a lot of really good issues in that Uncanny X-Men run there that are affordable, but you still get cool first appearances, cool artists, and everything like that. Okay, that's going to be it for this video. Those 4 main issues, those are on my want list. Those are on my watch list. I'm hunting for those. Spawn #1 Newsstand in the CGC 9.8. Uncanny X-Men 141, First Days of Future Past, First Rachel in the CGC 9.8. Iron Man number 282 in the CGC 9.8, First War Machine, and Amazing Spider-Man 300. You know, first appearance and origin of Venom. Super rare in the CGC 9.8. Another mega key to add when I get in the new case when I get a new Amazing Spider-Man 300. But those are the four. Got some honorable mentions too. And again, you know, when you're a collector, this is probably one of the funnest things to do. Is just always in your mind having that want list of all those cool issues that you want right now, and you know, maybe having that secondary want list as well. And then, you know, you're always on the hunt too for new issues that you maybe haven't thought about that you could promote to your first wanted list or your second want list. So I think that's one of the funnest parts about collecting, is always constantly thinking about that and thinking about new ways of collecting and new ways you can go about collecting certain issues. So yeah, having a want list, and super happy I could share it with you guys. And yeah, I'm definitely on the hunt for those four. Got the money ready and everything, and just kind of waiting patiently. And that's, you know, one of the things we preach about on here quite a bit, is just being patient. You know, it's really easy to get excited and want these books, but you know, they're rare, but they're not that rare. If you're patient, you know, one or two of these will pop up a month depending on the book, but in general, you know, they'll pop up quite often if you're looking at eBay diligently enough. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm being patient, waiting for the right auction, trying to get the right price for those four issues. So if you haven't already, please join the team here and subscribe to the channel. Follow along here, because I'll certainly keep you all updated if I ever do buy these books. And you know, I'll do an unboxing video for all these books as well, so make sure to do that. There was one comic that I did not mention on this video because I already purchased it and it's being sent here, and I'm going to do an unboxing video for that. I have mentioned it sort of periodically in the past, like 5 or 10 videos, as a book that I think is really cool and that I want. And actually, there ended up being an auction in Canada you know, 4 or 5 days ago, I think it was, and I jumped on it, and I think I ended up getting a really good deal for that issue. That'll be my next unboxing video, probably not tomorrow, maybe the next day, depending on when that package comes in. But again, yeah, these four books I really want, and I will share them with you, unboxing them and just you know, sharing all the CGC details when I do get them. So be sure to subscribe, hit that bell to get all the notifications as well. But thank you very much for watching the video today, guys. Really appreciate everything, and I'll see you on the next one.